Thanks, guys, for showing up for a one-shot session that I call Trouble in Willowdale. I think everyone's first time playing Dungeons & Dragons except for Casey, who is a longtime veteran now, who I corrupted years ago. And we're going to be starting off in the province of a kingdom called Sutton, the Sutton province. And we're starting in a city called Warrington. Now, this world, or this kingdom, is your stereotypical D&D world. There's really nothing too fancy about this campaign. It's what you would picture a medieval type world to be. Now, each of you were actually living in other places other than Warrington, and you got a summons. There was a courier, and he gave you a scroll, and you looked at it, and it summoned you on behalf of the Ruby Legion, which you guys are initiates of already, and each one of you have your own background and reasons why you are in the Ruby Legion and why it aligns with your goals. But you were summoned by someone named Lord Blackwell to travel to the city of Warrington. Now, you guys have arrived at different points in time into the city, but Maria, Alania, you arrive and it's early in the morning. You actually arrived the night before, but you stayed in a nice little tavern. But you wake up and you get your belongings together and you leave the room of your tavern and you start down the streets. And just asking a few people, you get directions on where the guild house is for the Ruby Legion. Now, the Ruby Legion is a very respectable, it's a renowned guild that even the normal townspeople even have heard of the Ruby Legion. This guild does a lot of good throughout the kingdom. And it's an honor to actually be a member of the Ruby Legion. And a lot of people respect the Ruby Legion. There's a lot of fantastic tales and legends and stories from the higher ranks of the Ruby Legion. Even going back maybe even a century or more before, tales of killing dragons who have threatened the kingdom, who have come and just decimated portions of the kingdom. But there's many, many different heroes within the Ruby Legion that have made a good name for the organization itself. And you guys are initiates. You guys are trying to get up to that, to get fame, fortune, power, whatever it is that your character is interested in. The Ruby Legion will help you with your goals. And it's also kind of nice to get that little bit of respect when someone recognizes the symbol of the Ruby Legion, which is several rubies, 3 of them actually, interposed, kind of overlapping, and then there's another bigger circle behind it. And that's just the normal insignia, but there's these square-shaped cut rubies on top of that circle, and that's the insignia of the Ruby Legion. So as you make your way to this estate that people have pointed you to, Alania, you take a look and you see this vast complex. There's this stone archway that you walk under, and you're right in this courtyard section where you look over, you see all these gorgeous flowers there. You see all sorts of people bending over, and they're doing some work. They're planting flowers, they're pulling weeds, they're just doing physical labor work, keeping the grounds nice. Up ahead, 2 figures immediately meet your eye. You see this vast complex and several towers jutting up, sprawling up towards the sky. But right in front of you, the pathway leads right to these 2 massive iron double doors. And on either side of these doors, you see 2 figures just completely decked out in what looks to be chainmail. And each of them has a single halberd at their side, where the butt of the halberd is just resting up against the stone ground. And they're wearing these closed-faced helmets as well. And you can't see any facial expressions or anything, but they're just completely like statues, just standing there, not even moving. And you approach the entryway that clearly, this is the way into the guild house. And as you approach, you hesitate a little bit as one of them speaks out and says, "Halt! Who are you, and what are you doing here? What business do you have?"
I'm Melania from the Ruby Legion, and I've traveled from Sutton to Warrington on behalf of Mr. Blackwell, Dr. Blackwell.
Lord Blackwell.
Lord Blackwell.
Yeah. Big claims that you have. Do you have any evidence of this? And all of you, like I said, you got this invitation, and it had the official seal of Lord Blackwell on it. So it is in your inventory, even though it's not officially on your character sheet. But all of you have this invitation.
So I'll remove it and show him. Go ahead,
Perfect.
sorry.
Alani reaches into her pack real quick, and she pulls out the scroll, and she hands it to the guard. The guard opens up his visor, and you see these dark brown eyes just staring out at you, and you hand him the scrolled parchment, and he unravels it. And he just reads it for a few seconds. It seemed like he was looking for something very specific, and he says, okay, indeed. You were free to enter. And he gives a nod over at his companion statue of a guard next to him. And that man then reaches over and starts to open the doors. And the doors just swing open, and you can just feel the mass of these doors just right before you, just opening up. You could tell that these doors are super heavy and definitely fortified. Like nothing is getting through those. Like they're just thick, very thick. And you also notice too that as you're closer up, as the doors are open, you notice that the insignia of the Ruby Legion Guild was actually engraved and blazed very largely across these iron double doors, and they just open up and they just creak open. And as you walk in, you're in this circular chamber, like a foyer area. And off to your left and right, you see stairs that sprawl up, and you see several people seemingly just going about their business, going in their way. And now, keep in mind, this is the morning as well. You left at a pretty decent time in the morning, and you arrived here. And there is a voice that speaks out, and you can't help but have to look down. And you hear this little voice say, "Oh, hello. What are you? Who are you? What are you doing here?" And you look down, and you see this little halfling. This little halfling, he kind of looks like a little child to you, but as most halflings do. And you see that he's not wearing any shoes, very typical of a halfling, but you see a lot of curly, patchy hair sprawled about his feet. And he's looking up at you with his curly locks, his curly hair, and he just has this eager smile on his face.
He's a hobbit.
Yeah, he's left the Shire. No.
He's left.
Yeah, but he's looking up at you, Elania.
Oh, am I supposed to? Oh, hello, I'm Alania Blackmore.
Elania, I think I've heard that name before. Are you here to see Lord Blackwell?
Yes, I am.
Oh, yes, he was telling me about you. Many of you have already arrived, it seems. Here, follow me, please. And it then occurs to you, yeah, this is some sort of servant courier guy who's, ushering people in, showing them around. And so I'm assuming you follow this young halfling. So he takes you immediately up the right stairs, and it's a circular stair as it fashions up. Everything just looks completely nice. Like this organization just reeks of wealth. And all sorts of riches, which no wonder, because the great grandparents of the organization, if you will, if the legends are true, then they have several dragon hoards of treasure at their disposal that they had recovered. You get up the stairs, and you also can't help but there's all sorts of amazing artwork on the walls. These big, large canvases with amazing depictions of battles and other fights. No doubt, probably reminiscing on some stories and legends of the Ruby Legion. But you are led down a hallway to the right. And as you go down quite a ways, actually, you notice more and more paintings on either side of the walls. And then after a while, this halfling stops abruptly, and he turns around and he gestures with his hand very flamboyantly and says, "What? Here you go then, ma'am. And says, right in here with the others. Lord Blackwell is being held up at the moment, but he'll be with you shortly. And
thank you so
yeah.
much.
And he motions you inward. And as you were about to enter, you can't help but notice that on the right-hand side of this doorway, as he motions for you to enter it and you have to open up the door and go inside, you see this depiction of a painting, and you see this man with this very dark, long hair on the back of a steed, a great, magnificent steed of a horse that is also all black. And he's rearing up on it like this, and he has this flowing cloak. And the artist definitely did a great job of depicting the motion of the scene. And you get this feeling of the movement and this magnificent presence of this man, whoever he is, on the back of this steed. But, you just continue on. Now, as you go inside and enter, you notice a very large room. You hear the popping and the crackle of a fire. You look over, and there's an arrangement of sofas and couches that are there. And you look up, and you notice someone actually very familiar to you that you're actually very surprised to see that you haven't seen in some time. And it looks like your brother, Ronan, is already there, and he's sitting on the couch.
Ronan, what are you doing here?
Well, you know me. I always appear when I believe I should. And I came before you like always, sister.
Heck yeah!
Nice.
She
Yeah.
shakes her head.
Yeah.
It's so nice to see you. Thank you for coming.
I'm very excited to see you. What summoned you here today?
I'm actually quite surprised by that, because the last time you were kicking me out of my own room. 3 barmaids.
I'm sorry, but it was my room and my bed.
Yes, my mistake. Well, we're here nonetheless.
And
But we are. Let the past be the past.
now, for an observer, for everyone else, you actually see some other people inside this room as well that you've never seen before. Now, for everyone else that is already there sitting on this couch, Maria, can you explain what they would see when they gaze upon Alania?
Yes. So Alania is donned in her cape, her black cape with purple armor and a little satchel, but she's very put together. Everything is very neat and tidy, and she's a very small person, or small human, and she has a little bit of ink on her left ear from when she was studying and reading her books earlier.
Nice. Definitely probably not the first time that you've had ink on your ear. I don't know if maybe... Yeah. Now, Ronan, what would we all see when we look upon Ronan? What does he look like?
Well, I'm quite the clad warrior. Clearly the ladies' man. I got the long locks, the brown hair, the tan skin. I'm quite reserved at times, but also I'm ready to kick ass with the eyes glare. All it takes is for you to cross my path once, or take my woman or take my beer, and I shall kick thy ass.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Now, there is another person, Alania, as you're looking about the room, that you see that you've never seen before, but he is resting up upon, he has this great maul, and he's sitting there, and you notice the symbol of a blazing sun on a section of his armor. And you're pretty sure you recognize that to be the symbol of Amonitor, the sun god. So, Jeremy, what does Dalton look like?
I am tall, quite fair, but also hard study in battle and of the holy. I serve the sun god. I heal all those that I can. But at the same time, I'm not afraid to disobey the law, so long as justice is served.
Okay. And so you look over and you see this stern man. He was just observing the whole time the interactions between you and your brother. But he's quiet. Is there anything that you want to say to him?
I'd like to introduce myself. So, hello, I'm Alania. I don't believe we've met.
Hello, Alania. I am Dalton the Lightbringer.
That's a very interesting symbol or crest that you have there. What does that mean?
This is my great tome. It is all but my holy studies.
Hmm.
I practice it every day. I study every day.
And what is it that you like to study?
Oh, all the pleasures that would be to know that if you serve in the light, you will all be saved.
Very interesting.
And you see
Yes.
another woman in the group, in the party or in the room as well. And she's sitting there and she seems a little bit unconcerned. But you notice from time to time she actually has a wineskin, kind of like a canteen type thing, a wineskin. And as she's just taking in the scene and just listening to everyone's dialogue and conversation, she occasionally just keeps on taking a drink from it.
What is it that you're drinking there, ma'am?
Yes.
It is one of the finest mead in this area that I've come to know, as I only drink the finest. And
But
she
the
goes,
amount-
and she goes and takes another drink, a swig,
Yeah,
and she says, "And who might you be?"
I'm Alania Blackmore. And you?
She just kind of looks at you a little bit. Maybe not so impressed. Another woman. She really doesn't care about having friendships. And she's like, "My name is Relia." And he says, "And I am by far the finest archer you will ever meet in this part of the city." And he says,
Oh.
"No doubt you will see very soon."
Step back, sister. I see a fine maiden in front of me indeed. Hello, Relia. My name is Roman. I hear you're a fine archwoman. I would like to see your aim in the bed. Also, I have
Ronan,
quite a fine
please.
cask of mead myself. I might actually try tasting that in the fair consequence of realizing whether or not your mead is actually as good as you say it is.
Calm thyself, Ronan. Your sins are great.
Yes,
you must
I know.
become one
I
with the
know.
light.
I know, Dalton, but please, I'm trying to work my magic here.
So, Alani, at this point, you managed to actually take a seat at an empty spot, and every spot is seemingly equidistant from the fire. Now, the weather and the time of year that this is it is approaching fall, so it's harvest season, and the morning air definitely has a crispness about it where it tends to bite at you with the breeze that can move through the town and through the landscape. And so, yeah, the fire's going, it's helping to stave off the chill morning air. And there's, after a little bit more conversation, the door opens. And you guys see a man walk in. And he is decked out in these black boots. He has this black cloak. And he has this black, long, flowing hair about his shoulders. And Alania, you definitely notice that, yeah, he looks so much like the man in that painting on that horse. And yeah, you're like, yeah, this must be the same man. That's Lord Blackwell. And, you've never seen him before, but no doubt you're pretty sure that's who this is. You're very intelligent. You piece that together.
Did Theodore make it?
Not yet.
Not yet.
He had a family emergency.
Oh,
We're keeping his introduction
on.
at bay for the moment.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's funny you brought that up because I was about to get to that. But so he takes a look around and he says, he walks in front of all of you actually, and there's a window. Like you guys are fashioning around this like kind of a semicircle with all these arrangement of couches, and then there's the fireplace, but there's also these windows on the outside, and there's a desk, and the desk seems to be covered with all sorts of stacks of parchment. And he walks over towards behind the desk, and he turns around and looks, And he doesn't say a word to you guys, but you notice with his long black hair, and also he does have a very nice kept, thick black beard as well, and these piercing blue eyes. And he looks around and he says, seems we are still short one. And he says, it looks as though most of you are here. And then with that, the door opens and you see a man rush in, and he's like, I'm not late, am I? Lord Blackwell, is this, are you him? And Lord Blackwell seems very unimpressed. And he says, that is I. If you can have a seat, I presume you are Thenor. And Thenor just gives him a nod, and he quickly walks in, and he's breathing very heavy, like he might have had a late morning and got together a bit late. And he is arriving late from the time that the parchment said to actually arrive. And he's just breathing really hard. And he gets his wits about him, and you notice too that in his hand he has a flute in his hand as well. And he's just looking around, just eyeing everybody down. And he just says, well then, so who are all of you? And he's looking right at you, Alania.
I am Alania Blackmore.
Oh, well, nice to meet you, Alania. And, I didn't notice you before, but wow, another half-elf, it seems. I could tell from the elvish features that you have. And he's looking right at you, Relia. Wait a minute, Relia. You are not a half-elf, though. No. Yeah, you're a high elf. Yeah, you're a high elf.
Have you gone mad?
That's right. No one's playing the other half-elf in this time. Yeah, there was another one, but it's not real. Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, he makes a comment about your majestic beauty and being the suave bard that he is, and he doesn't really give much comment to the blokes here sitting on the couches. He just says, "Hello, my name's Thenor," and I don't know if that's how Andrew wants to play Thenor, but anyways, we'll see how he takes it.
Hello, Thenor. I recognize you're quite late, and that's unimpressive. However, family emergencies are something that happens to take precedence in this world, but we've been waiting on you. Your ass is late.
And you hear Lord Blackwell clear his throat. Well, then. And now he has a much deeper voice than what I could possibly do because of my own DM physical limitations here, but he has a very deep, gruff voice. And he pauses for a moment, and he turns around, and he gazes out the window, and he clasps his hands back behind him, and he's gazing out. And you guys can see from, the smoke from the smokestacks from the surrounding buildings of the estate just kind of wafting through the air. And there's kind of a little bit of a fog this morning. Now that you guys are up on the upper floor and you can look out a little bit more with a better view of the city of Warrington, it's a very vast city, actually. You can see that there's definitely a slight fog about the air. A little bit of a nippy morning. And he looks out, and he has a parchment in his hand, and he's looking it over, and he says, and then he turns around and says, yes, better late than never, however. And he says, I'm not sure you all know who I am before this moment, but yes, I am Lord Blackwell, and I have summoned you here. I'm sure you were wondering why. Now, your invitations to this estate here was very vague. It never gave you the reason why you should come. It basically said to the effect of, if you value your position in the Ruby Legion, you better get your asses to Warrington. I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. It was very simple and sweet. They pretty much just ordered you guys there to get there at a certain time. So he says there is an urgent matter. And he says, my good friend Gowan in Willowdale has sent me an urgent request for help. Now, if you know my friend Gowan, he is a proud man. Yes, indeed proud. And he would not ask for help unless it was truly dire. And he says, he didn't give much information in this parchment, but he does say it is urgent, and the entire village of Willowdale is completely spooked. Apparently some miners have gone missing, and they haven't come back. And definitely this sort of thing has never happened before, but it's caused quite a stir in the community. I mean, it's just a small town. And so I assured him that I would be sending some help. So I have selected each of you. I've heard of your actions and your reputations in the guild, and I have personally selected each of you because of the abilities and the expertise that you have shown. And I believe that together you can overcome the challenges that confront these people in Willowdale, and you can perhaps put a good name to the guild in this town. And of course, I do owe it to my good friend Gowan. And he says, time is of the essence. In case you don't know, Willowdale is to the west in the mountains. It's a mountain village. It's a mining community. Says, time is of the essence. So the guild is paying for each of you to have a steed, a mount to make the journey. Now, and he then lifts up a stack of, actually there's this little box, and he lifts it up, and you can see that there's a bunch of rolled up pieces of paper or parchment stuck within it. And he pulls each one out and looks at it a little bit, and then he walks throughout the room, and he starts to hand each of you this paper. And right away, as he hands it to you, you guys can notice his seal on it as well, of Lord Blackwell. And he says, now you might be tempted, but I assure you, do not open this. The seal must be intact for you to get the steed at the stables just right outside of the courtyard. And he says, you hand this to the stable boy, and he'll take care of everything, and you will get your steed. But again, like I said, time is of the essence. So I ask if all of you would do this thing. And if you leave a good name to the Ruby Legion, then your reward will be a full ranking membership in the guild. Now, what this means is, being a full ranking member of the guild means that you guys would no longer be considered initiates. This means that you guys would actually be collecting a salary, an income just by being a member, and it would guarantee you lodging and a place to stay in any guild house across the entire kingdom of Neradia. So, this is the pretty big reward that Lord Blackwell is offering you guys. And especially Alania, this also means that having full ranking position in the guild, not only would you guys get lodging in a guild house, but also free access to the libraries that are available. So, yeah, that's a pretty big deal.
Yes.
And he says, so, I know not about the specifics of what plagues these poor people, but do you all agree to go on this journey? It could be life-changing for you.
I do. I accept the challenge. Ronan never flees from a challenge given by Lord Blackmore from the Ruby Lords.
Nice.
Sir Blackwell, Dalton shall bring the power of the sun to Willowdale.
Alania,
And just see that you do.
Alania looks forward to working the weave and learning more about Willowdale and all of its troubles that ails it.
Yes, sister.
And then he says, there was going to be another among you. Perhaps some of you have heard of the Wood Elf who has joined our ranks some about a year ago, named Ida. But we she has a story about some troubles going on in the eastern borderlands from where her people are from. But we have sent her on an expedition to be the guide to show some other ranking members of the guild these potential problems that are brewing to the east. But I regret to inform you that she will not be accompanying you on this journey.
That is sad to hear.
And
My
Aurelia
blessings go
stands
with
up suddenly, and she says, well, then let us be done with it. He says, it has been a while since my bow's been strung, and I'm eager to put it to use. Whatever foul creatures lurk in that mine, we will sure to take care of it.
Well, I must say that it's a little unfortunate. Another female, no matter what race, is not amongst us. That's one less that I might have the chance of succumbing to my bedroom.
And Aurelia at that looks and scowls at you.
Look here. Look
Brother,
here.
please focus.
Look here, bowwoman. One of these days you'll understand.
It's Relia.
That is awesome.
Relia, my
Oh,
apologies. Let's just listen to Lord Blackwell, please.
Oh
In
my
time, you
gosh.
will also come to this great glamour and understanding that not only am I full of combat and have a quite good taste in ale, but I look forward to the stunning realms of the sexual pleasures we might enjoy later.
Ronan, we are on the clock.
I realized Ronan was so
No.
horny.
All right, sister. All right, sister. I'm okay.
And Lord Blackwell says, no doubt, Ronan, if you are successful at this task that I've bestowed upon you all, no doubt I'm sure you will catch the attention of some of the local village women of Willowdale. Says that can be some extra motivation for you.
Well, I
Touching
was
to kiss him.
going to ask you actually. Besides the fact that we will be getting all the prestigious rewards from this venture, not only will there not be coin, but women or ale. That's something that highly motivates me.
You study on bringing fortune to yourself instead of bringing justice and the light to others. What is wrong with you, old man?
Dalton,
Alas, we shall
Dal-
do this together.
Dalton consists on smiting me with his morality and his light. I would just like to get on with the adventure and see what it holds in.
And Regular stands up and stammers towards the door, and she says, enough about your yammer whimsical desires. She says, we have a village to save. And she begins to stomp out the door, drinking her flask one last time as you see the door close right behind her.
Yes, indeed. Let's follow the drunkard.
Well, and at this time, too, what you guys say at the tail part of it is drowned out as suddenly there's the sound of a flute playing just very loudly in the room. And Thenor then responds as he pauses for breath and then says, oh, I assumed that you were done speaking. How rude of me. Says, but we need to be off so that the great Thenor can save the day. And, you know, he gets his things back up together and he seems eager to get on out the door. And then he pauses and he turns and he says to Lord Blackwell, and he says, nice to meet you, Lord Blackwell. Very much appreciate this life-changing opportunity. And he says, may the gods be with us. And he just nods and exits the room on
Indeed,
the
yes,
tails
gods will be
of
with us.
yep, on the heels of Relia and everyone else. All right, so you guys depart from the meeting area of Lord Blackwell, one of his chamber areas. Now, you guys start to leave out the estate. Now, all of you have a certain number of gold pieces that you were starting with. And as I said before, the city of Warrington is a pretty vast city. In fact, actually, Dalton, you were the only one that actually didn't have to travel here because there is a temple to Amonitor, the sun god, here in Warrington. And it's a pretty big temple. It's one of the major centers. So you actually didn't have to travel too far. But is there anything that you guys want to maybe go buy or go do before you go to the stables?
I highly recommend that we do.
Yes.
Yes. As long as she rolls a 6, then we will do what I say.
I did not mean to.
Now look
It's all
here.
good.
I believe that there might still be some adventure to have here before we take off, although the people are in dangerous need of us. I will leave it up to the party to decide to a vote.
Yes, I do need to purchase some items for spells. I'm sorry. Question real quick out of character.
Yep.
I'm clicking on spells and my dice are rolling.
That is probably because attack is selected. So
Oh.
if we do Burning Hands, oh no. Okay, let's go attack, and then we'll switch it back to spell card.
Okay.
Now if we do, cast at what level? Okay, there's the spell card.
Okay, thank you.
How many gold
Yes.
pieces are we starting off with here? I don't see it on my character
Yeah,
sheet.
so if you go to your character sheet down at the bottom, there's equipment, and
Right.
there is CP, SP, EP, GP, and PP. CP is copper pieces, then it's silver pieces, electrum pieces, gold pieces, and platinum
75.
pieces.
I must say, 75 gold pieces is quite a lot of loot to have on our carry. I believe that we need to quite look around the town. Maybe there's a nice bar that we could get a couple of drinks at prior, or maybe there's a store or a library we might stop at. Does anybody else agree?
Yes, I do need to go to a store. So I need to have. Okay. How are we supposed to purchase all? Like, if I have a bunch of things to purchase, how do I purchase it?
Yeah, so you just mentioned to me, basically, what do you want to go and buy? And then basically take it from there to figure out, one, what's the quantity, if it's even available. It could be sold out. You just never know. And then, of course, the price.
Okay, I need to find a piece of cured leather. And
Now, remember, you have a spellcasting focus, so you don't really need these components for your spells.
oh, okay, sorry. Then
Unless
yeah,
it's unless it's the monetary component, like it says something of value in gold pieces, then you would need that. Like, for
Okay.
example, Dalton has a spell called Continual Flame. That one requires powdered ruby dust worth 50 gold. If he ever wanted to cast that, he needs to have 50 gold pieces worth of ruby dust to do
Right.
that.
Can I ask you something? I have
Yep.
2 long swords, main and offhand.
Yep.
Is it possible that there is a store or a blacksmith that sells weapons that have more than +5 attack than what I currently have equipped?
So you're looking for magical?
No, physical weapons that have more than +5 attack. I have 2 long swords equipped in both hands.
Yes. So the reason why you have +5 is because of your proficiency bonus plus your strength modifier. So the 3 plus the 2, that equals the 5. Unless the sword is magical, you're not going to get better than a +5 to attack.
Is there a store somewhere where I might be able to purchase a magical, equipable physical weapon?
In Warrington, there are some arcane shops where you can get potentially magical items, but I can assure you that with only 75 gold pieces, you're not going to be able to afford diddly squat,
Okay.
especially a magical sword.
Well,
Okay,
then,
and also-
besides a drink, that's all I would need from this town before we
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah, also too for ruby dust, where do I acquire that at? Would that be at the Holy Temple for my order, or would that be just in a random shop?
To order what?
For for my ruby pieces,
Mm-hmm.
or my ruby dust actually, how do I obtain that? Would that be through a basic shop? Also need holy
Yeah.
water too. So I know
So
holy
you-
water would be from like the temple, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. And since there is a temple right here in Warrington, if you want to get some flasks of holy water, then basically you can just go ahead and do that. It's really depending on how many flasks you actually want to carry. So a flask.
Say sprinkles of holy water, so it's an entire
Yeah.
flask.
Yes,
per
we
sprinkle.
certainly need holy water for our,
Yeah.
I
our
would say,
holy monk here. I mean,
Yeah.
I would say
before we set off.
two flasks of holy water.
Okay. So those weigh 1 pound each, and don't worry about the cost.
Okay.
You're a 3rd level cleric of a monitor. I think the temple can afford to spare 2 flasks of holy water for you.
And then ruby dust. They cost
Yeah,
50.
now ruby dust. You could go to an arcana shop, and depending on the spell and how popular maybe that spell might be, Continual Flame, I imagine, would be a pretty popular spell that people would perhaps want to be cast because it's an endless flame that burns forever practically. So let's see if they are sold out or if they have some. So here we go.
I don't have continual flame as one of my spells, but actually, I do. I just have to cast it.
Now, this would take all of your money if you were able to find it at a base price. The lowest being like 50 gold. This would take literally all of your money.
I would be more than willing to spare the extra for him to grab as much as he needs, as much as I can give him.
So Ronan, are you guys gonna stick together as a party to go visit all these shops? Or are you guys gonna kind of disperse throughout the city to go to the shops that you want to go to, and then meet back up at the stables?
I would highly recommend the entire party come along. Obviously, everybody here doesn't really have much motivation to get much from shops. It's 75 gold. I can't purchase more weapons.
Okay.
Dalton needs help. He needs to be able to purchase these things. I'll be willing to give my gold pieces, but we must travel as a group.
Okay.
Well, you might want to catch up to the stammered off Relia, who quite a bit ago.
Yeah, Relia's already got her ass like halfway down the fucking peninsula. Like, she's gone.
But she is drunk. She will take a long time.
Yeah,
to get to the
she's
station.
drunk
Yeah.
as shit.
So you managed, you can ask, Dalton is from Warrington, or at least he's living here right now. So you know your way around the city. So you go to one of the Arcana shops.
And I'll ask if anybody wants to follow, please come. If not, then stay behind and go look elsewhere.
Okay, so yeah, you guys want to eventually meet back up at the stable at the Ruby Legion estate. So Dalton, you take the lead and you guide the rest of the party to one of these Arcana shops. Kind of not very pleasant of a name, but the Withering Hand Alchemy is the name of this shop. And you walk in, and there's this old lady who greets you, and she just speaks out, welcome to my shop. What can I do for you, young man?
Greetings, shopkeeper. I wish to purchase at least 1 whelm of ruby dust, please.
Can I ask what spell you need this for?
I have many spells that can use this, but for now, I will use it for my spell's Burning Hands.
So,
Ronan's like, didn't you want that infernal fire spell, sir?
Oh, okay. So, actually, Jeremy, this came up. I hopped on whatever day it was. I lost track.
Monday. Or
Monday,
Tuesday?
or no, Tuesday with
was
Kyle
Tuesday.
and Maria because they had some questions about the spells. What you were seeing there about that ruby dust for burning hands, that's actually just placeholder text on the Roll20 sheet. Because it's a lighter gray text, that actually is not a required component for burning hands.
Okay.
Yes. So
Yeah,
we can
I kind of
make it
wish
look-
maybe they didn't put that on there because that is confusing for a first-time player to assume that you would need that component there. But yeah, so if you notice burning hands, it does not require material components, so you are good.
This
don't
is a shady
need that.
neighborhood. Let's get the fuck out of here. Let's go. Let's go, Dalton. Dalton, let's leave. You do not need ruby dust. I feel like we might get robbed here. Please, let's go meet up with the rest of the party at the stables.
Indeed, yes, we shall pass on this item for now. Let us
Okay.
meet up with everybody
Shady
else
ass
at the
shop.
stables.
Well, okay, dear. If you need anything else, you come back. No doubt Hagatha will have all of your needs.
My thanks, shopkeeper.
Thank you, old lady.
Okay, so you guys depart from her shop as you realize, I don't need that after all. Or maybe you just don't want to spend the money, because that would wipe you out of money. So, yeah, so you guys meet back up at the Yeah, that's fine, CJ. Just go ahead and just do the cost from straight in the handbook.
Yeah,
Just write 'em
I'll
down.
go and get it real quick. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so I would imagine Relia and Thenor are already there. You guys had to go on a little bit of a detour there to get to the arcane shop. And you notice that Thenor is sitting on top of a steed that's completely chestnut brown, and just this magnificent-looking riding animal. It's sitting there. It has complete saddle and bridle, has everything. His pack and stuff is back on the back part of the saddle. And Relia is there already, and she's seemingly attaching things to the saddle, with these saddlebags and these packs and stuff, and she's about ready to get mounted. But Thenor is sitting there just, as you guys get closer, you hear this tune. And he's just sitting there playing, just practicing, but he notices your guys' arrival. He says, well then, where did all you guys go off to for so long? He says, this matter is urgent. If anyone dies because of your hesitance, then that's on you.
I went to go help my friend grab some ruby dust that we later realized we didn't need, but we're here now nonetheless. Let's please use our sealed papers given to us by Lord Blackmore to purchase the steed and move forward.
And he says, well then, be on with it. Oh, actually, CJ, do you want to do the voice for Thenor?
I was going to do like an awesome introduction. Take care of it. Unless you really want me to play him, I can.
Yeah, maybe you should, because I'm going to have enough stuff to worry about. So why don't you just go ahead and take care of all the dialogue with Thenor? But yeah. So Thenor seems a little bit irritated because he seems very eager to just want to go and get on with it, right?
The same asshole who was late. That's great.
Yes, exactly. Right.
And he says, "Let us be gone, adventurers. These things do not tell themselves. Let us be gone." And he kind of says that in an exciting but in an unnerving mood. Like he wants to get going really bad.
Yeah. Now you guys hand in your scrolls to the stable boy, and he inspects the sill, makes sure that it's not broken, and of course he then unravels it and verifies, and he says, just one moment. There's actually more than one stable boy. The stable is a pretty large stable at this estate. As you can imagine, there's probably a lot of guild members who make use of it. This is pretty much a hub of a city. A lot of merchants from around the surrounding countryside and villages, a lot of them will come to Warrington to do trade. So it's definitely a very basic center hub for trade and for merchants and all sorts of stuff. So the stable boys return with these various mounts, and they start assigning them to the appropriate people. Now, Ronan, your steed is very similar to Thenor's. It's a normal chestnut-colored riding horse. Dalton, your steed, though, seems more of has the stature of more of a war horse, and it's very stout, very sturdy, and it's pure white. It is a white horse, and it's just a gorgeous-looking steed.
Dalton, would you like to trade horses?
Alania, your horse.
I must refuse.
Your horse is actually half black and half white. It's kind of a mottled color, but it has this cool pattern about all the way down its back and around its face. Just these spots and these kind of like ink blots, if you will, all about its body. So it's a black and white horse, and it looks really, really cool. Definitely will match the little ink smudge on your ear.
Yes, this is definitely my steed.
Yeah. And Relia, your steed is also the typical chestnut-colored steed.
Fitting for a high elf? Heck yeah.
Yeah. So with that, it took maybe about an extra 30 minutes for you guys to visit that arcane shop and then come back and get the steed and start getting out. But you guys get in your formations with the horses, and you guys ride on out of the city, heading westward. Right away, you guys notice the road starts off fairly wide, but then it starts to narrow, and it becomes apparent that this road is definitely not used nearly as often as other roads. Most of you came from the east or the south, and those roads were definitely wider for a longer period of time just because of the constant travel. It just wears down the vegetation, and it becomes an actual hard dirt road. This road starts to get, as the hours pass by, the road begins to definitely narrow quite a bit as the vegetation and local wildlife just wants to encroach upon the path. And you can still easily make out the road, but it's starting to get pretty narrow. Now, as the hours wear on, the weather is just partly cloudy. There's just a cool breeze that's moving through, and you can kind of feel a little bit of chill to it as it seems to be air that's coming down off of the mountain. Now remember, you guys are traveling to a mountain town, and you guys are ascending up into some mountainous terrain where there are some not too steep of rises, but the horses definitely have no problem handling it. And you guys are definitely grateful that you have a horse to rely on to make this ascent and to not rely on your own 2 feet. As you come up over a ridge, and there's like this little, not really a valley, kind of more like a little descent where you have some good view up ahead of you, you notice some like a plume of dirt, like a smoke plume emanating from beyond in the distance. And most travelers know that this dirt plume rising up into the air is usually the cause of horses. In fact, you guys are causing your own dirt plumes to rise up into the air as you guys are plodding along this dirt road. But yeah, it seems like there's a traveler or someone coming up ahead, coming down the path.
Can I ask you how far away they are from our vantage
It's
point?
far into the distance, like probably 1,000 yards.
Oh, much further. Okay.
But
So-
definitely you can see something coming across the trail. There's definitely a lot of trees in this mountainous area that you're in and vegetation. It's somewhat hard to see, but you could see the plume of dirt rising up into the air from your...
Let me ask you,
Visit.
can it be assumed that they can see our dirt plumes?
You would imagine so, yes. In fact,
Okay.
you guys Ronan, you maybe that a thought occurs to you and you quickly look back behind, like, well, what kind of dirt plume are we causing? And yours, the combination of all you together is definitely causing a lot more dirt than what you're seeing in the distance.
Okay.
But then again, hold on, let me see your intelligence. No, actually, you are pretty smart because you studied the art of war, basically. So
Well,
you're
mine-
also a student, kind of like Alania, but a different
Lesser.
kind of student.
Whoops.
Premature
That's all
roll.
good.
Wait,
Oh, it's
have
all-
a good roll.
It happens to the best of us. It's okay. So what do you guys want to do? Just continue on, or do you want to
Well, let me
set up
ask
an
the group
ambush
here.
and kill whoever it is?
I
Or,
know how
just
bad
kidding.
I roll. I get my
Gosh.
Honestly, I highly doubt that this is a friendly. I highly believe that we should stop and wait for the adversary to come our way, whether friendly or it's important that we at least know. And we need to close the distance. We need to stop moving now. Obviously, they've seen that we're coming. They may be moving in an angry measure, and we need to be able to defend ourselves.
Okay.
Alas, he is right.
And Relia just kind of looks at you both and says, "You guys haven't lived very peaceful lives, have you?"
Always be on guard. Always be on guard, Relia. Just like never mind. We'll continue this conversation later.
Yeah.
Just
Later
keep
on
your
tonight.
eyes
Close
awake
your
at
eyes.
night.
She just rolls her eyes like, whatever.
Okay, so
we
you
decide
guys hold
to-
up then. Alania, do you agree with Ronan's wisdom here?
Reluctantly.
Reluctantly.
Oh,
Okay.
come, sister.
Okay. Dalton, you've heard lots of stories of actually monsters and all sorts of things that could be in these mountains that you guys are heading to. Fact that you see a dirt plume, it kind of, it must be a horse. You're thinking it's probably a horse or two, just like your guys's, that can cause a dirt plume like that. So what are your thoughts? Do you agree with Ronan, or do you want to proceed onward?
I shall agree with Ronan. We shall make camp here. We shall wait for them to set up.
Okay, so It's actually only about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So you guys traveled from the morning. So you guys have traveled. You've taken a few breaks already for like basically lunch. But yeah, it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
I think we should
Really
set
good.
here. We should hide our horses beyond the brush in the tree, and then hide out and wait to see what comes.
I
Whether
think
it's safe to continue going on as they pass, or if we can sense the danger as they come close.
I do believe there should be one of us out to greet because they've already seen our dirt plume. And
And-
so it would be
All right, I'll stay out. Everybody else should hide. Obviously, they may assume that there's something going on here. The large dirt plume we have to assume they've seen it. However,
must-
I would like to allow me and Dalton to stay out on the front and look like common people who are just hanging out, even though he looks like a gigantic healing minotaur-looking motherfucker. Still,
I almost think it should be you and Relia.
Relia says,
yes, Aurelia can shoot from a distance, but
Yes.
okay. Then we'll have Dalton hide as well and get his heal on the ready. We'll have Relia and I might smack her butt here and there, but look, we'll stay next to each other. Everybody else hide the horses.
and
Alania,
as you-
hide the horses along the
Dalton
brush
and I
to the
will
left
be
of the
ready
road.
with burning hands on
Okay.
each side.
There's a lot of
And as
shrubbery
you-
to the left. Hide the horses.
What does
It'll be
Thenor
Relia
say?
and I.
Is Thenor saying anything?
Not yet, but Relia's about to say so.
Okay.
So Relia says, have you guys forgotten who we are? And he says, we are the Ruby Legion. And he says, we do not hide amongst the shadows like impetuous thieves. Who do you think we are? And he says, let us approach them with caution nonetheless. And he says, but see what they are about. For all we know, it could just be a petty merchant.
So that's Thenor that said that?
No, that's Relia.
Relia.
And then Thenor,
Because that
I
sounds like
just
something
said,
Thenor would
"I."
definitely say. Yeah.
well, Thenor was going to toss in something.
Yeah.
Thenor was going to say, I. And he says, adventure does not find people, the ones who await or crept up in the shadows. And he says, we should go forth and see what we might meet, for good or for bad. And he says, nevertheless, the people in the mountain await us.
Then I will say, obviously, our party has a choice to make, whether we stay and creep and wait, or we meet adventure head on with caution. What do ye all decide?
Traveling too hasty can be tedious. But yes, we are no common mercenary folk. We are the Ruby Legion.
I
Let us
also
press
believe
forward.
that the Ruby Legion didn't get where they are by making hasty decisions. So we should cloud ourselves in a bit of mystery. And I still believe that two shall meet while three should stay hidden.
Well, then there's a 2-2. We need one to break the tie here. That
Well,
would
and you have the
lead Thenor.
intelligence of a wizard, too, who have, you know?
And Relia
What
says,
say
I will
you?
stay out here. He
Then
says, I'm
Relia
not
and I
afraid of
will
what is
stay.
to come.
Relia and I will stay. Thenor, Alania, Dalton, you all please take the horses, hide them amongst the brush. We will greet them. You guys stay at the ready.
And
Okay.
Thenor says,
I
I will stay here as well.
Okay, so it sounds like you guys are going to be cautious. You guys are going to stay back. Okay, so Alania, Thenor, and Dalton, you three take the mount and hide them behind a bunch of brush, which is pretty easy to do. You're only like maybe 50, 40 feet off of the path. Not too far away, but definitely far enough that you're pretty sure no one will be able to see. Ronan and Relia, you two are standing there. Are you standing just right in the middle of the road or off to the side?
Yes, we stand in the road with our both of our breasts pointed outwards towards the sun, waiting to greet what comes.
Okay.
Relia will actually just have her bow not drawn, but in her hand, just to be ready.
I will
But
be
she's
at the
gonna,
ready.
But she's going to be
No,
in
no.
a casual stance, like at all.
Ronan's weapons will be sheathed. I do not want to cause offense to something that may not necessarily be offensive to us.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move some of these guys off of here. So Thenor is moved, Dalton, and Alania. So there's a patch of bushes right down here that you can see on the lower right-hand side of your screen. And you guys are back behind here with the horses, definitely well hidden. And then there's Ronan and Relia, about like so. Is that about right?
Actually, I can't.
Or wait, you said off the path a little bit?
Yeah, you
I
can
don't-
scroll down, Jeremy.
No, yeah,
Or-
scroll down. You can see
Yeah, here.
Alania, Dalton,
Okay.
and
There you go. How's that?
There we go. That's much better.
Yeah.
Okay.
so yes.
So if
we're-
you scroll up a little bit, as Relia and Ronan, you two are standing there waiting for whatever this is to manifest itself. You then see, well, you hear it first, actually. You hear this creak noise. And then over just right up close, you guys have maneuvered into a spot where you don't really have such a good height advantage to really look out and see. But as this cart now appears, there's two horses pulling it, and you see this lone man, and he seems to be in his older years, and he has this cloaked hood. The hood is not over his head, though, and you see this balding head, much like myself. And he has the reins, and he's sitting there, and he's just up there bouncing along. And walking on either side of him, you see these two young men. They definitely have swords at their side in scabbards. They are wearing some type of armor, like maybe a chain shirt, because you can see it glistening from the sun that is shining and peeking through the canopy of the trees here. And you can see that they are armored. They're walking with caution, and they are definitely eyeing you two, Ronan and Relia, with caution. And this old man seems to be unconcerned, though. He has this little toothy grin about his face as he's, just snapping the reins, and the horses are continuing on. And you hear this squeak, squeak, squeak as one of the wheels is just constantly squeaking. And he holds up about where he is, and he says, "Oh, whoa!" And the horses just stop. And they stop, and this old man gestures out and says, "Oh, well, hello, travelers. Well, only the two of you. I hope you're well armed. There's lots of dangers in these places."
Greetings, old man. It's nice to meet you. We are just friendly travelers along the road. Obviously, we mean you no harm, but we would like to understand if you mean us any harm whatsoever, any caution that I might have, because I'm guarding my only beloved Relia behind me, and we do not wish to get into any fights.
"Oh, I'm afraid I'm much too old to be getting in some fights in my day. I have other things to be doing." He says, "I wish no quarrel with you as long as you wish no quarrel with me."
Then let our paths may cross, and I bid you a good will.
Okay. One thing.
Relia's like, no, fuck that, and she shoots an arrow at one of the fucking guards. That's something Casey would do, I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh. You're just kidding there, right, CJ?
No, of course he wouldn't.
She
No.
doesn't actually. She doesn't actually.
She has it
pull
at
an
the
arrow out, but
ready, dude. She's
Are you
ready.
going to troll this party? Like, what?
My swords
doesn't
are
actually-
sheathed. I'm
she
not even
doesn't
trying to fight
She
it.
doesn't actually have an arrow pulled, but she's just like visualizing putting it in the back of his head.
Oh my gosh.
This old sweet man, unless he somehow like transforms
Okay.
into a fucking like daytime werewolf, I don't think we have an issue.
Yeah, so you're sitting there. You can barely make out the conversation. In fact, you couldn't really quite hear what the man was saying, Alania, being next to those horses and behind all that brush. There's just too much interference there with the conversation. But definitely, from what you can tell looking through the brush, this looks to be like an old man driving a cart and two young boys. And by young, they're about your age. They're actually like around 23, 22, walking on either side.
Seems pretty harmless.
I will step out of the brush and I will join the rest of them.
Okay.
I will grab one of the steeds.
What
Okay.
distance is that to join the party, by the way?
That would be, well, he'd have to dash to get there at least right now. So dashing is an action that you can do. If your speed is 30, it basically lets you add your speed again. So
Well,
30
I'd be a
plus 30
little
is
worried
60.
that dashing like that through the woods would cause alarm to the people at the
Well,
wagon.
of course, that's in a combat situation. So we're not in combat. So I'm assuming
Okay.
that, Dalton, at what point would you want to join? Because it seems as though the conversation ended rather abrupt, like just very quickly, not much was said. And I guess, Ronan, you basically said, well, then, be on your way or whatnot. And he starts to, yeah, and he uses the reins and you hear the snapping sound. And let me go ahead and he goes ahead and moves. And the horses start to move. And at this point, Dalton, you now have been able to make it up with the rest of these two. And you see this old man, and he looks over and he just looks at you, and he glances down at your holy symbol that's like on the side of your armor here on your shoulders. And he just gives you a nod, and he says, "Blessed be the great monitor, the sun god, to banish all darkness."
Why, yes, indeed. Bless you, old man. Safe journeys on your way.
Now, Maria, I did whisper you something, so if you want to...
whoops.
Yep.
Wait.
I just want to mention I'm quite worried
think
that
I
I
see.
said it was just me and my beloved behind me, and then Dalton rushed out of nowhere. I'm a little
Well,
concerned that the old man
My
might
bad.
cause concern
I shouldn't
for
have
me
said
lying.
dash. I shouldn't have said dash. With how I moved everything, he comes out of the brush and he just walks up. He's not running or sprinting.
I'd like to.
I'm here, guys.
Yeah. Wait up, guys.
Okay, I
So
didn't
I
want to
don't know if
scare the
there's
old
some-
man. Give him up.
I don't know if there's something
a slow approach. A slower approach. Not like
I would
Okay.
I'm out of breath.
to approach with our steeds as well and ask the old man, "Sir, have you come from Willowdale?"
Okay. So by the time you grab the steeds and come out of the brush, so you have the reins of these horses back behind you. The Nor has the reins probably for 3 horses. You have for like 2.
Jew.
Especially since you're not very strong, so you probably wouldn't feel too comfortable trying to lead more than 2 horses.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, you guys just watch this old man just start to ride on by. But sorry, I accidentally selected Ronan as well. Okay. So he's riding along, and you see these young men just kind of looking you guys up and down a little bit, still using caution. They have one hand on the hilt of their sword at their side. They're not drawing it. They don't look aggressive. They just seem to be cautious, and they're moving along. And Alani, you come out of the brush at this point from here, and this old man looks over and sees you and just gives you a respectful nod as he sees a lady and coming out of the brush. And
Right.
what do you say to him?
I call out, "Sir, I just was wondering if you were coming from the direction of Willowdale."
And he, whoa, and he stops the horses and he says, what was that you said? Sorry, ma'am, my hearing's not like it used to be. What was that? You say something?
I just repeat myself and re-ask the question. "Sir, I was
Okay.
wondering if you'd come back from Willowdale."
That I am. We come from Willowdale, we do.
Are you and your men seeking any assistance?
No, my boys here take good care of me and make sure that I stay safe. We're just heading to Warrington. We have some things to sell.
Can the rest of the party hear us?
We're all right.
Yeah.
Wow,
Everyone's
so the
pretty much
soldier-
right there. As you took the lead coming out of the brush with the horses, and Thenor followed suit. So he's just kind of trailing back behind, maybe about right there at this point, holding
Can
on
I-
to the reins of 3 horses.
Can I move here to talk
Absolutely.
closer to the
Sure.
older man?
Sure.
So, no trouble. We heard something has been happening in, excuse me.
Willowdale.
We heard that something was happening in Willowdale. A friend of ours, Galwin, from Willowdale, spoke of villagers that have gone missing. It's caused quite a stir in the community. We'd like to understand what's going on. You are not leaving. If there's any information you could give us, it might be beneficial to our task. We're there to help.
Oh, yes, there is a problem going on in Willowdale. In fact, that's why I'm traveling, you see, a little bit earlier than usual. And we made haste with our harvest, and we're going to sell. We got out of that forsaken place. Everyone's spooked something fierce, they are. And it says, me boys and I know one thing, I'm not going back to Willowdale till we hear that it's safe.
Well, we
Okay.
promise you that is our goal, to make it safe. Is there any information you can give us?
And then during this time, I would like to step up to the old man and ask him basically the same thing. Is there anything that we can do to help?
And he cocks an eye, and he's just like, who are you? I assumed you folks were out here hunting or something. You plan to go all the way to Willowdale?
We're from the Ruby Legion. We've been given tasks to come to Willowdale to try to rescue the town from the wicked evil that's befallen it. If there's anything you could tell us, please, son, tell us.
Okay, so Ronan, since you've kind of taken a point here with the initial conversation, and then you kind of jumping back in here and then saying what you just did, why don't you go ahead and roll me a persuasion check? So go ahead, go to your character sheet and click on the persuasion, or you can manually roll it if you want, which is a d20 plus 4.
Yeah, I see it here. Persuasion. Okay. Did it roll?
Yep.
12.
12.
Is
So plus
12
the 4,
plus
so
anything plus
16.
16. Yep.
Yep. So you rolled a 16.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, well, I suppose I can tell you what I know. And he says, some couple nights ago we had a mining party that didn't come back. You see, it's quite a ways from the main town center, so the miners, they tend to stay up there a day or two at a time. But this time, they didn't come back. And then we started to worry, but then we waited another day, and then they didn't come back. When I was leaving, mind you, a couple days ago, there were some talks about sending a rescue party up there to figure out what was going on. But, mind you, everyone spooked something fierce at night. Everyone locks their doors and their windows, and no one goes out at night.
That's quite horrible, sir. I surely appreciate the information. If that's all that you can give us, grant you bid, and we will go try to understand what this is, and hopefully at some point we'll be able to give you safe access and paths back to your homeland.
And I appreciate that. Definitely, I can rest a little bit easier knowing that the Ruby Legion is behind the help that is coming to Willowdale. I do hope that all of you are successful in the venture. Says, well, if you don't mind, I have these tomatoes, and I'd be getting to Willowdale or to Warrington before it gets dark.
Yes, of course, sir. Please be on your way and have a great day.
Farewell, you old man. Be safe.
And yeah, as you say that, he seems to be thinking about something, and he turns around and he reaches down back behind him, thrusts a hand into the back of his cart, and out he pulls the juiciest looking, ripest tomato that you've ever seen. And he holds it up and he says, no doubt you won't find a better looking tomato this side west of the Naruth River. And he says, there you go, young man. And he tosses you a little, this tomato, Ronan, since you're closest and you're right there. And sure enough, this tomato looks firm enough, but brilliant red color. Definitely a perfect specimen of a tomato. He says, well then, me boys and I, we have a living to make. And then he snaps the reins, and the wagon continues.
Farewell. Thank you for the tomato, old man, as he rides forward and he can't hear me.
Yeah. As, with the sound of the horses and the wagon, you guys hear this distant squeak, squeak, squeak from that one wheel of this wagon dissipate into the distance. And at this point, you guys have mounted back on your horses.
All right.
Come forth, Shadowfax.
Let's continue our adventure. Let's get back into our cross.
Okay. And then I believe something like that. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
I would like
Okay.
to say maybe we should have taken Relia's advice to begin with. Obviously, we cannot be pussies in this adventure. We are Ruby Legion members. That seemed like a much longer, drawn-out conversation than what it should have. So from now on, we should only really take up arms and be cautious if we have real good reason to.
Indeed, let us show the meaning of haste.
Yes.
Let us get going.
Let's move. A town is in need. Let's move.
That's awesome. All right, so you guys continue venturing on your journey up this mountainous road, going closer and closer towards the village of Willowdale. Now, the night starts to come upon you, where definitely it looks like there's maybe at most 40 to 50 minutes of daylight left. Normally, travelers at this time choose to find a suitable camping spot, preferably off of the road, one that is a little bit secluded so that can't be easily seen by the road and also kind of shielded. Now, again, you guys have ascended up into the mountains, so the night air, it's going to be even chillier and crisper than it was back in the city of Warrington. So, in fact, maybe in just 4 weeks' time, the mountains might even get their first snow. So, I went ahead and prepared players. There we go. Okay. So after a little bit of searching for a suitable spot, to the left of the road, you guys find a perfect place to set up camp. Now, to the east, I'm going to ping it. So by the way, if you guys hold with your left mouse button on Roll20 and just hold it down with the cursor, it's going to do this little ping here. See that red thing that's kind of just coming out? Yep, and it's the same color as your dice, so that lets me know who's doing the pinging. So towards this direction, that would actually be to the north, which is the right side of the road because we're traveling in a western direction. That is where the road is, maybe 100 feet. Not too far away, but far enough. Now I'm going to place... Now, a few features here to take note on this map. The seclusion here is really good because of these crops of large boulders that are surrounding here. I took note of the height differences here with the boulders. Where it's marked 10 feet, those boulders are so big that if you were to be standing on top of those, you'd be 10 feet up in the air. If you were to directly try to climb one of these boulders, it'd probably be an acrobatics check to see if you can find enough handholds and footholds to actually climb your way up. But these other boulders nearby, these are lower. They're like 5 feet high. You could easily climb up atop these, and then from here, you could then climb up onto one of these 10-foot high boulders if you wanted to. These right here are trees. And then, if you can kind of look close, there's some branches. So these are trees. And then there's some bushes. Up to the north here, you see, I'll go ahead and move your screen so you can see. So these are bushes, if you see these on the map. These are not trees, they're just bushes. They're about maybe 5 to 6 feet high. You could duck behind them. They're just bush patches.
Okay.
Now, you can kind of see the slope of the terrain here. There's some hills here. See, there's a hill there. There's like a hill here. These are just little ripples in the ground that just really help to give cover and to break line of sight from the road. But basically where I'm placing you guys right around here, this would be like a perfect place to be setting up camp.
Okay.
But you guys, of course, are surveying. Each one of you is going to survey this area here. So you might find a particular interesting spot that maybe you feel like is a better place to try to sleep. But
Let me ask. Alania's detection spell. Is there a radius on it?
you mean alarm?
Well, yes.
detect magic, I think
Detect
it
magic. Well, detect magic is not what I mean. Alarm is what I mean.
Yeah. So alarm, it's a 20-foot cube.
So it's not very large.
Yeah, she has to basically choose a
Object.
door, a window, or an area within range that is no larger than a 20-foot cube. So
Maybe if we all
Each-
huddled really close together, it might work.
So each square on this map is 5 feet.
5 by 5.
There's a
okay.
measuring tool off on the left-hand side of roll 20. It kind of looks like a comb.
Yeah, I see there.
You see that? That's a measuring tool. If you just left-click and hold it down, you will be able to click and drag and figure out what the distances are from a certain point.
Okay. Well, so I mean, that's not too bad. A 20 by 20 cube wouldn't be too bad if we set up camp all. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can put an alarm around.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not much
So
of
you can-
an alarm though. Because all they
Yeah,
have to do
basically
is
a
get
4
within
by
one
4
square.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If they-
we're,
if they get-
we're out in the open if we set up camp here, though.
Well,
we
hold on.
need-
The road you said was off to the right, the east side
Yep,
of
to the
map?
right, about 100 feet.
About 100 feet. Okay, so
Yep.
I honestly believe that camping probably behind these 10-foot rocks. Jesus.
Can you ping?
Right here.
Yep, you just hold down the left mouse button.
Somewhere right here between these 10-foot, even though we're slightly closer to the road, we're hidden by all of the shrubbery and the bushes and these
Mhm.
high rocks. I think this
Okay.
might be a good spot.
Okay. Yeah,
Does
that's
everybody
a
agree to
sound
move there,
place.
or do you want to move somewhere else?
I agree.
Yeah, go ahead and move your own tokens where you want to be.
I will
Now-
move right here.
Are you guys going to light a campfire? I'm assuming
That's
that
what I was
you
about
do.
to ask.
'cause it's going to
Alania
be-
can cast fire to start up a campfire here. Do I need
I
to go
can't
grab
move
wood?
myself for some reason.
Oh, you
Make
can't
sure,
move Alania?
make sure the upper left cursor is selected.
Yeah, yes, let the
Oh,
cursor.
yes. Yep. Make sure
Yeah.
the cursor's selected, not the measuring tool.
Like I hover over my token and the little 4-corner arrow pops up, but I can't actually move myself.
And you have the cursor, the topmost icon, the arrow selected on the upper right?
Yeah.
All right, let me double check the settings on this.
I don't have my mouse plugged in though. I'm on my laptop. I have to
Oh,
charge, so 1 second. Let me just get my
And
Yeah.
Senor says, alas, while the tension is here, let me play some music as you
Yes.
ease up while we set up camp here.
While Alania
and
is
he
trying
whips out
to,
his flute. And he
Yes.
starts playing.
okay.
while Alania is trying to actually decide how to set a fire, Sonora can play some calming music for us all. And give us all a little buff, hopefully.
And as he starts playing, you actually kind of hear skips and maybe like some partial dancing as he's playing this flute and stuff. And every now and then he'll break away to sing a lyric or two and right back into playing it.
Can I ask, are we able to have a drink here as a party? As we sit around the
Yeah.
campfire, can I pass
Sure.
drinks around? Now, I know there's like an inebriation factor. I don't want everybody to get too fucked up here, but I do want us all to have a drink.
Okay. So, CJ, do you want to move Thenor and Relia where you want them to be?
Yeah, so Theron will probably be somewhere in the middle, performing, doing what he's doing. And Relia is actually going to be surveying around this area and this area, trying to find because these are trees, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are trees.
But you're going to be missing the music.
Oh, no, I can still probably hear.
Yeah, he can still hear the sound of the flute.
So
Oh,
she's
even with
gonna
my
be-
mouse, I
she's
can't
gonna be
move.
over here
That's 50
investigating
feet away.
these two things.
Okay.
You can't move your token. I just checked the settings and it looks good. You should be able to click and select.
Yeah, I can't move it
Let
with
me-
my mouse nor my key, like my little mouse pad.
Now, what happens when you click it? exactly.
Well, something
Are you
just
getting a
popped
menu?
up.
Let me check, sweetie.
I am now, but there wasn't before. Oh, I hear myself. I'm Alania, not Relia. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
You can move it wherever you want, babe. Just hold down on the left click and move it.
Okay.
Oh, yes, you have to hold it down and then drag it. Now, this is actually very useful as well. This is little Roll20 trick. So you can take a token. Alania, I'll use yours to demonstrate.
Okay.
But if you take the left mouse button, click your token, and then you hold it down, and then just start to drag it a little bit with your mouse, and then hit Shift and Space. It'll start this waypoint option, where as I'm clicking around, you guys won't see it until I finish my move. But basically, I can click it around, like holding it down the whole time. I can see the distance, and then hit the space bar to create a waypoint that the token will follow for the path. And this is useful if you need to navigate around objects and you want to know exactly how far it would be. So this would be 30 feet with this path if you guys watch what happens with Alania. You see that?
How did you do that?
So you start to drag the token as if you're going to move it, but instead you drag and then hit Shift and Spacebar, and then you hit Spacebar for every waypoint.
Oh. Wait.
Shift.
So go ahead and try that yourselves. That's definitely very useful.
So you click and hold to drag, and then you hold Shift and then tap Spacebar every time there's.
Well, you don't have to hold Shift and Spacebar. You just gotta hit it together to activate that mode, and then you just hit Spacebar.
Oh,
yep, there you go.
see.
Ronan just did it.
Ah.
Yep. Then you hit Spacebar to create the waypoint.
Yeah, Spacebar and Shift together. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Did I do
There
it?
you go.
Yep, you guys did it. Sweet. Okay.
Now, what also is cool is when you select your token, you can hit the spacebar and it'll show you your previous path that you took. So if you just successfully did the waypoint navigation here, go ahead, select your token, and then just hit the spacebar, and it'll
Now,
show
let's
you
say-
your path.
Now let's say you messed up. How would you go back to where you started?
Just manually move your token back to where you
Oh,
were.
you just manually do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
Which hopefully you
shift and
remember
spacebar,
where you were.
Okay, so I would prefer everybody now, after that, learning that little trick tidbit, to get to where they want to be right now. Obviously, there's a movement limiter for Aurelia. Like, everybody has a 30 foot or 30 speed, or what does that mean?
Yep. So your speed is how many feet that you can move on your turn. So each square is 5 feet. So it's 6 squares for a speed of 30, right? Because 30 divided by 5 is 6. So when it's your turn in combat, you can do an action and you can move up to 6 squares and still do your action.
So now when we're not in combat, moving...
It doesn't
at any
really
realm-
matter. Like, just
Okay.
move wherever you want. It doesn't really
Just
matter.
note that in combat, moving diagonal, you may think that it's only 10 feet, but it's actually 50.
Right.
Yeah, so so by the book, Raw Settings in 5th edition, they tried to simplify this where it costs the same even to go diagonally. So, let's say you guys can see my measuring tool, right? So 30
Mhm.
feet, they would call moving all the way to here also 30 feet. But of course, I changed the settings of the map so that it correctly calculates the closest distance that it should be based on actual distance. So this is actually closer to 45 feet, not 30. But by the book, Raw 5th edition, they would call that actually 30 feet distance. I don't like that, and I am not going to use that approach because
Right.
it creates
No,
some
yeah.
weird,
Metagaming.
funky
that's it.
things.
Yeah,
Because-
I see that.
No.
Yeah, and
I
I just don't like
real
it.
world math.
Well, when you think about it, if a fireball goes off in a 20-foot radius, well, okay, now your radius is a square. Like that, I just don't like that. So
Right.
I go ahead and I use the trouble. I'm constantly triangulating sometimes to figure out the hypotenuses and the correct distances of stuff, especially things that are up in the air. But that's just something I deal with, and that's something I'm willing to do just for the sake of having more accurate distances. So
Okay,
I don't think it slows down gameplay that much.
let me see if I can try to push this in direction. So obviously, Ronan and Dalton are next to each other. Thenor is riding his flute. Relia is over there investigating these trees. Alani, if you can move up a little closer to start a fire in the middle of us all. Like, do I need to go
Yep.
collect timber, or can she just start a fire?
So I have to use my burning hands.
Well, that's definitely one way to start a fire.
Yeah,
Or you could
that
use,
is.
Yeah, you're gonna fucking burn us all up when you do it.
or
That's cool.
you
Well, you
could
told
do,
me to use my spell.
or you could do firebolt if you want.
I-
You don't have
I don't have
prestidigitation.
firebolt.
Let me go grab some timber.
Yeah, you have a cantrip called firebolt.
Oh, my cantrip. There
Yeah,
we
your
go. Yep.
cantrip's always for free.
All
So
right.
I would let you just go whoosh and like start a massive flame, and then of course you guys probably going to gather some firewood together to last throughout the
Yes.
night and all that kind of stuff.
I'm gonna go
So-
gather some firewood here. Dalton, would you like to help, please?
Why, yes, I shall help you.
Yes, please join me.
Yeah,
sir.
just to move this along a bit. So you guys get the firewood. You guys basically we need to discuss watches. Before that though, Relia, you said that you were going to investigate the tree. I'm assuming you want to try to climb up it. Is that where you want to
Yeah.
sleep? Okay, so
Yeah.
Relia is a high elf. It is common for high elves to have. Well, they have like tree cities up in the trees. And like every high elf, it's like a noble, prestigious thing to like be really good with a bow. So a lot of times high elves, they actually choose to sleep within the trees because it's good for defensive positioning and offensive and catch your enemy by surprise. But it's also, I don't know, it could be kind of cozy if you find the right set of branches.
Find the
So-
right branch. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so really you are going to look for a place. How high do you want to be?
Oh, 10 to 20 feet. I don't want to be too high. I want to be able to come back down in one round if I need to.
And you're going to want to have a decent view of the camp.
Yeah.
Okay, at about 10 feet, you find a set of branches, but the only problem is the opening of the tree that you can look out to is facing that direction. There's too much foliage. where
Yes,
you
I will
cannot
keep
see-
guard. Do not worry.
Well, you could go, so that's at 10 feet. If you want to try to climb up even higher within this tree, because this tree is about
yeah, I'll climb
maybe
higher.
30
We'll see what I can
feet
do.
up in the air. So
I won't
you
go
can-
past 20, so I'll go another 10.
another 10 to see if you can find, okay.
Yeah.
So you find another opening in the exact same orientation. Holy crap. This tree is just really bushy, I guess, on the
Yeah.
right side.
This tree
Alright.
sucks, bro. You need to fucking pick another tree.
So
Yeah,
just so
you
you
guys-
guys know, this is where I keep saying the dice tells the story, and it has an ultimate impact later on. I
Sure.
randomly rolled a directional for where the openings would be on this tree. It just so happened that the dice kept on rolling that the openings were on this side.
Yeah.
So for this tree, there is no opening that she can really find that will give her a good view of the whole camp over here.
Well, I'm a little worried, really. You need to-
She kind of drops down, glutters some elven curses, and then she starts moving this back over
Okay.
towards you guys.
Well, before
She's
you
gonna pick
do
up these
that
rocks.
though, Relia, why don't you go ahead and roll me an acrobatics check?
Oh yeah, that's what I've been waiting for.
Yeah, you don't want to fall out of the tree and take damage.
I did one time.
Yeah. You rolled a 1.
Yeah. Oh! What? Are you?
I rolled a 1.
Wait, I don't. Why do I not see the dice?
So CJ, you need to go into your cog and your settings and make sure you enable
Oh,
3D dice
yeah, right. I keep
and
forgetting,
automatically
but I
roll
gotta do
3D
that.
dice. He missed the session 0 part where we talked about that.
So you rolled a 1, dude.
He rolled
yeah.
a 6.
We were just talking about it too. What the
Yeah.
hell?
So if you mouse over the dice roll over there with the 6, see how it's red? That's Roll20's way of telling you like
Oh, I see
you
it.
sucked it up hardcore. That's like
Oh, I
a
see
one.
it.
And if
That's
you
a
mouse
one.
over
I
it, it'll
see
tell you
really,
it was
6
a roll of a
acrobatic.
1 plus
Oh
5.
my gosh.
So,
Oh,
Relia,
yeah.
you are up 20 feet, and you start to try to find your way down, and your foot slips off of a branch, and you end up falling. And you fall down on the ground, and you take 8 points.
Oh my
bludgeoning
goodness.
damage.
Man.
What is your HP?
And she kind of goes down with kind of like a scream, like,
Yeah, and you guys hear a yelp like ah,
Oh,
and
fuck.
yeah, and you guys hear
And what did we
branches
learn?
cracking and breaking, and you guys all look over. You're listening to this beautiful music, but it's just kind of overwhelmed by this yell. And you guys look over and you see a rain of leaves and branches and twigs and high elf coming
that is
out
like
of
the
the
most
tree.
embarrassing
down
fucking
onto the
thing
ground.
to happen for a high elf.
Oh,
How did-
this is
I
my
can't believe you
perfect
overwhelmed.
time. This is my perfect time
Oh,
to go
man.
say what's up to Relia.
And she's so mad right now. She starts to stand up. She's looking. Hopefully nobody noticed. And she tries to regain her composure as fast as she can, like nothing bad happened.
And you
Let me say
landed
this.
pretty hard on your shoulder there, Relia. You're
Oh,
hoping that it doesn't
God.
affect
your
Oh,
shoulder.
that's your shooting arrow shoulder. Look, Dalton, if you could please, obviously we heard a loud rumble. Can you please go check to see with me? Let's move.
Oh, you
Let's
guys
go over
see
here.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Am I allowed to
Dal-
move that far?
Dalton will
Yeah,
actually.
it's not combat, so go ahead.
Okay,
You
so
can
this is non-combat, so Dalton will dash over.
Please, let's see. Oh, Relia is
So we notice-
incapacitated.
I noticed that Aurelia is. She's taking damage. Let's see.
Can you heal her, Dalton? She's falling out of the fucking
And she,
tree.
as you guys come rushing over, Aurelia is like, "I'm fine, thank you." And she,
No, you're not
kinda-
fine. Shut
She
up. Lauren.
stands up and she regains her composure a bit. She kind of, as she's starting to walk up, she just kind of winces as she moves her shoulder, and it just kind of feels a little bit of pain right in her head. She kind of grimaces, but she doesn't want to show it too much. So she just begins to walk up, and
Oh, what is that?
she tries to push past you two, actually.
This is a campfire.
Oh, okay.
Relia, I must
Okay.
say,
You guys
It
got
does
some
appear
twigs
that-
and some rocks together, and you went whoosh and blasted and created this fire. And
Gotcha.
Okay, since we're not, I have a question. Since we're not in combat or anything like that, my cure wounds.
Mhm.
Will that actually cost me 50 ruby dust still? 'Cause I can't really tell. That's
no, that
No,
ruby
it
dust
won't.
is the placeholder for the character sheet. Like it actually doesn't cost you 50 ruby
is that
dust.
a cow trip?
No, cure wounds
Cantrip?
consumes a spell slot.
Ooh, are you really want to use that right now?
Well, if we're about to if we're about to
On
rest
this
for the
fucking
night,
dumb
Yeah, for
bitch?
about to long rest.
well, yeah, if we're about to
Okay,
long rest,
Yeah, we are about to long rest. You might as well. Yeah. Well, Relia's already said she'd walked away with her pride and broken
she's
shoulder.
She's starting to, yeah, she's.
but she still has
move
it.
Well,
Who's
don't
that?
forget. So there's hit dice. Okay, so your hit dice is also a pool of healing resources that you can pull on to heal your character. It is limited, so all he has to do is spend the next hour not trying to climb up trees and stuff and getting hurt,
Actually,
and
hold on.
she'll be able to heal.
Can I?
Okay, so what?
Can I back up?
Go ahead.
Hold on, sorry. I have to type this. I'm gonna type this fair. I don't want you guys to hear it.
Hold on, a bottle of rum.
Yeah, it sounds like whirlwinds of magnetic damage coming through the mic when you type.
Oh,
It's like.
my bad.
So what you're saying
Yeah,
is that there's
sure.
almost
Go
no point to
ahead.
heal Relia
Okay,
if
hold on.
she's gonna just.
He has an ability, or sorry, she has an ability that she's going to use real quick.
Okay.
1d10 plus my level, right?
Yep.
You got your fucking dice set up to automatically let us all see it, right?
I mean,
Yeah, make sure your 3D dice is enabled and that it's
yeah,
quick to roll automatically.
Good luck.
click and drag to roll the dice. Oh, I don't have.
I'm gonna laugh if you roll another one.
Grr.
2.
Well,
It's almost
Right.
a 10. No.
so she
Well, that's
she takes a
fine.
moment to regain her composure and just kind of massage her shoulder a bit, but you recover 5 hit points. Still a little bit of an ache, but you think you might be just fine when you pull your bow.
Before you guys get over there, she just kind of rose a bit. She's like, I'm fine. I just saw a vermin is all. And it scared me. Startled me a bit.
Well, we were just making sure. Now I will go back to the campfire where the music is.
A high elf, scared of a little vermin. But alas, let's go.
And she kind of looks a
Let's-
bit flustered, and she just storms off. And she starts going.
She's hiding up by these other rocks. She's like,
So
"Fuck everybody."
I'll kind of trail, and then I'll go this way.
She does, however, want to check these rocks out.
You're gonna climb rocks? Come on, Relia.
Yeah, Dude, I'm an artist, man.
Well, yeah. So if you go this point, like it's easy to just step up on the rocks up to 5 feet, and then from there to step up onto this 10-foot high rock.
Yes, please. You're gonna have the acrobatic roll at this point.
Is there a gap right in here? Like, does it dip down?
It does dip down.
So that's an acrobatic roll for you, bro.
He won't have to. She won't have to roll, or he.
That's the DM's. Yeah, I was just joking, but yeah. So
Yeah, you don't have to roll for that.
okay, so we're enjoying the campfire. Relia is attempting to climb the rocks, and we're all here hanging out.
Yep, Alania has the fire going.
She casts what, firebolt?
Yes, she did.
Firebolt is activated as fire. Okay, now we're warming up. It's probably time for us to decide who's going to take first watch and who's going to rest. I assume Relia is going to help take first watch. Ronan will also take first watch if the other three would like to rest.
Yeah, so remember Relia, because you are a high elf, because of you being of Fey ancestry, you have trance, which is a racial ability.
Oh!
So, trance allows Relia, she only actually needs to sleep for 4 hours instead of 8 to feel well rested. So she can actually take perhaps a longer watch. To gain the benefits of a long rest, I think it says you can't spend more than 2 hours on watch. So we probably just need to break this up. No one will have over 2 hours of watch since we normally sleep for like 8 hours. So there's 5 of us, so we could easily get it done. So
Can I ask real quick, how long does an alarm last for?
Did you link the spell?
It's Alania's spell. I was just curious to how long.
8 hours.
Okay, so
That's
Is
the perfect
it-
time for sleeping.
yeah, you might as well activate it around a 20-foot radius around the campfire, so that by the time you're well rested, you'll get it back anyway, and it sets up a potential of us to.
Well, she could do a ritual, so it's
Yeah,
not prepared.
ritual, yeah.
So she has to do it as ritual, which it will not cost a spell slot.
Okay,
anyways.
perfect.
We'll go ahead and do it. I cast.
Okay, so where do you want the actual alarm?
I guess it would be like. Well, Ronan's. Are you on a boulder, Ronan?
Yeah, I'm doing this around this area here. Is that where you?
You're
So
right
where
on
would
the
you
edge
like it?
Ronan,
wanna-
can you come in closer? Like
Yes.
right here. Wait, why isn't my thing pinging? Just because I feel like the alarm would be.
Now, keep in mind that this is an area, if any tiny creature enters the warded area. So just keep that in mind with this spell by
It'll set
placing
off
it
the
all
alarm?
around us. No, I think she can designate creatures that won't set off the alarm, so that's fine. So using it in this way, this would be really good to prevent, I guess, anyone from trying to sneak into the camp and pickpocket you guys.
Mhm.
I guess that would be one way of using it like this. So do you want it like that?
Yes.
Okay. And then Relia will be out there on top of the rock.
Yes. I can't protect you out there, Relia.
So Relia, there is a tree right here if you're interested. Or
Yes, take another fall. Let's go
right
with-
here.
Yeah, take another.
Or are you
there's
done?
There's a tree right here. I thought this
Yeah,
was
there's a
bush.
tree right
Yes.
there.
I have a feeling that we're going to be
Oh.
attacked from the roads.
You know what? I'll go check out that tree then.
Nope, fuck
Okay.
that. I'm moving over here.
Okay, so you want to check out that tree. So let's see. So you go up 10 feet. Let's see where the opening is. Wow, directly west. So there is an opening just 10 feet high,
Yes.
directly over the camp this way.
Move up there. Let's go,
How
Wood
much
Elf.
vision? How much vision do I have going? Like this direction. Where does it cut off?
How much vision? Oh, okay. So you want to know the
You know what I
arc?
mean? Yeah, the arc.
Well, let's find out. Okay, so like this to there.
There and go to the other side. How much on the other side? The other side of the arc. Start right there.
Yeah,
okay.
right here
That's a good spot. I'll stay there then.
to here.
Okay. By the way, Thinor is still singing his flute. We're all
Okay.
We're
Just roll me an acrobatics real quick. Brilliant.
Yes.
Getting up. Hopefully you pick a branch that can support your elven weight.
Yes.
My
Oh
gosh.
God.
Dude,
Fuck, dude.
The DC
You're
was
gonna
only
fall
10.
again.
Well, it doesn't fall, but the branch that you wanted to get to, it cracks and breaks. So you actually aren't going to be able to perch yourself right there.
So you're saying I probably have to go up higher and try.
Yep. You want to go
Alright.
higher?
Try to go higher. Hell
Hopefully
yeah.
you get a similar view. I don't know. Similar, not the same, but it's a view that's going this way. You see a gap in the branches of the canopy of the tree, so you're seeing more like this.
That's
So
not good
particular.
enough. I'll just go back to my.
Your rock?
Yeah. So I got to make an acrobatics to come down, right?
Yeah.
Alright.
Yep. Oh,
Okay.
wow. That almost flipped to the
Thank
one.
With grace.
Thank God.
Yes. You land with grace. Okay. So an hour goes by of us sitting here just kind of talking and chit-chat. Really, if you want, you finish a short rest, which is a 1 hour period of time. If you want, you can expend a hit dice to recover the rest of your hit points. You might as well. Remember to add your Constitution modifier. D10 plus 2. Do you want to use it?
Oh, sorry. What?
Do you
Yeah,
want to heal or
Is it
not?
late
Want
for
to
you?
heal?
Is it past your
I
bedtime?
was so spaced out. My bad, man.
Okay, so you can use, you just finished a short rest, technically. So if you want to expend a hit die to recover the rest of your hit points, you can. It's a D10 plus 2.
Expend.
Okay, so mark off 1 hit die and roll a D10 plus 2, which no matter what you roll, you're going to get it back.
Yeah, there we
So
go.
of
Nice.
course, you roll
Okay.
high.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, perfect. I
All
was
right, so
hoping
you're
for a 0
back
there.
up to max. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I do have an encounter planned, right? It is 10 after 11 where I'm at. This combat will take at least probably over an hour because it's definitely your first combat. I know there's going to be lots of questions. It'll be a bit slower than combat in the future when you get used to the game. But this could be, especially since Andrew hasn't shown up, maybe it would be good if we stopped here so that he can come back next time. And that also means we're probably going to end up doing 2 more sessions for this adventure.
So is
I
it
would
every?
say let's
Is
take a
it?
break then.
Is it still going to be in like the next Thursday, or is it going to be like we're going to fill in on like another day? And
Thursday is the best day out of the week for me to be up to do Roll20, so I would be willing to
Okay.
do next Thursday.
Okay, I'm actually comfortable to obviously the lack of Andrew really
Yeah.
screwed up. I think what the hell was going to supposedly happen here, but
Yeah.
I feel
I don't
comfortable
re-
with stopping
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I kind of don't really want to go into combat without having Andrew play his own character, just because he should know his abilities more than
Mhm.
anyone else, and
Right.
you know, it's part of the fun of the game is especially combat.
Right.
Well, that's the point. Is at least we can fill him in up to this point, and now he knows he's just taking a rest around a campfire, hidden behind, and then something might happen, but nobody really knows. So
Yeah.
he can at least join in whenever the real action happens. So yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
the best idea, just in case.
And next time we will discuss the order of the watches, like who's first, second, and so on, and then I will determine whose watch it is when something happens.
Okie doke.
All right.
So that's a wrap.
That's it.
Awesome.